33 in Beaver Dam. You are listening to Community Comment. Here's our host, Kevin Haugen.
Well, thank you very much, and good afternoon. Welcome into today's Community Comment. Again, I am your host, Kevin Haugen. It is my pleasure to welcome to the program today our guest here on Community Comment, as is the deal every third Monday of the month. It's my pleasure to have in our Daily Dodge TV studio today Beaver Dam City Administrator Nathan Thiel. Nathan, thank you so much for stopping by.
Always a pleasure. Thanks for having me, Kevin.
Absolutely. If you have a question for the city administrator, feel free to call in at 887-9595, or you can text 885-4446. Again, those numbers are 887-9595, or you can text 885-4446. We'll be sure to get to those during our program today. And just a quick programming note here. Again, in our first segment, we have the Beaver Dam City Administrator, Nathan Thiel. I just want our viewers and listeners to know, in our second segment, we'll be joined by Andrew Hysell. He's the Democratic candidate for Wisconsin Assembly District 48. We had the Republican candidate, Lisa Rubrick, on a couple of weeks ago. So rounding out that our question and answers with those candidates in Wisconsin Assembly District 48 here in our second segment of Community Comment. So stick around for that here a little later in the program today. But Nathan, how are you doing today on this relatively beautiful fall weather here in Wisconsin?
Can we just say that this is like beautiful weather, and if we could like copy this day and the past weekend, Wisconsin would be perfect.
Oh, no, I really cannot complain about this. It's not going to last, as unfortunate as that sounds.
It is, but we'll take it while we have it.
That's right. Yeah, I cannot complain about the weather that we've had here the last couple of days over the weekend, and enjoy it, like you said, while we can, while it's here, because we know Wisconsin winters,
they're on their way.
They're on their way. They're coming up. So. I want to dive into our discussion topics today. We have a couple of important things to highlight, one of which is around this time of year, talks really start ramping up. It sounds like, it's at this point, things are on the down end in terms of getting everything finalized and ready, and that's the budget talks.
I thought you were going to talk about elections.
Well, we'll save that for a little bit. But
Yeah.
That you could also make that statement for election.
This is a busy time of year. Let's just put it that way.
Yes.
We are in the process of finalizing our budget. Tonight, actually, we're going to be presenting kind of the draft general fund budget to our Common Council, and we had the opportunity a couple of weeks ago to do a workshop session with them, and we'll plan on mid-November, there will be a public hearing for the actual public review of the budget. But we're excited that we've got things rounded out and looking good. So.
Yeah, the hope is, I believe, that by the time the budget's up for adoption, it'll be a balanced budget and be in the black.
Yeah, so we'll not only have a balanced budget this year, as council talked about through the needs of the community and so forth. We're actually hopeful that even with median home values rising, that there will be a reduction in the levy that will equate to, for a median homeowner compared to last year to this year, about an $86 decrease in their taxes. So,
people like hearing that.
Yeah, everybody loves hearing about decreases in taxes. But so
how. I know that there's still a little bit of work to be done. That you're not across the finish line just yet, but. How has the budget process gone so far this year? Smooth for the most part? Yeah,
this year, when we look at it, so first year I got here, we had $1 million deficit, right? I don't know if you remember that, Kevin. I remember it. And we had to do some work to make things work. This year, our position is much healthier. And we've been able to put in some policies that will, instead of issuing debt service for equipment replacement and things of that nature, we now have built in into the budget basically funding to support equipment at the time that we purchase it. And so we've really done some good, smart, fiscally responsible things to improve the city's position. This year we didn't have a deficit. We had, again, to the point that we can, the levy that we're going to put forward is going to result in a tax decrease. And I have to hedge a little bit because that's just the city aspect.
Sure,
right. I can't talk about the county. I can't talk about the school district. And unfortunately, we're the guys that collect the taxes. But in general, again, the city's position is much healthier than it has been in the past.
I know that we've talked very briefly in previous community comments here in this budget cycle just about some of the projects or some of the big ticket items that are included in this budget. Again, I know I've asked you this, but I'm going to ask you again.
Yeah.
What are some of the things that the residents here in Beaver Dam can expect with the next year's budget?
Yeah, so a couple of things that highlight, and hopefully, sometimes these things aren't very sexy. But we'll talk about the cool ones first.
Okay.
So Beaver Street and Front Street, we received a grant. So we'll talk a little bit about CIP. That project is on the docket to happen next year, partially funded by the city, but also partially funded by grant funding. We've also got a portion of Madison Street that we're going to be doing. We've built into the budget about $1 million every year just to maintain roads, and we're hoping to grow that. I think we've talked in the past to just take care of the stuff we've got. We need to be investing about $4 million annually, whether that's maintenance or reconstruction or a combination of the two. That's what we need to be recurring. That should be the recurring cost, and so we've started to do that, which is good. One of the projects that we were hopeful for, but won't be going forward this next year is Swan Park Phase 3. We had applied for a DNR stewardship grant. It was a very competitive year, and unfortunately, we did not get the amount that we had requested. Upwards to 900,000. Got like 190,000 was the award, but it was because we were like in a three-way tie. It was very competitive. So our hope is our intent is to apply again, and then use this year to continue to petition from the community also to support the project. So we're excited about that project. Don't get me wrong; it's not on the back burner, but it's just we'll delay it just to make sure that we can make it so that it's funded more through grants than just debt service.
And that's what essentially what the last couple of months have been. It's to outline what can be done in 2025,
Correct.
What things can be moved depending upon what
Correct.
funding is available.
Everybody's really excited about new seating and the benches down at the band shell, but unfortunately, we're going to have to probably wait one more year. One thing that will probably bore listeners, but I geeky about, is back in the day, for whatever reason, city council members decided not to refinance or issue debt in order to close out an unfunded liability, for the retirement planning for our employees. And when the city joined this retirement program, instead of they didn't want to leave the employees that they had on their rolls in the lurch. So they basically said, "Hey, we want to apply the retirement plan, the same retirement plan for everybody that's worked for us." Well, those contributions never came in, right? They came midway, right? And so that unfunded liability has been on the docket for quite some time. And council wisely, as we talked about it and discussed it, wisely decided to refinance. So what that means is instead of upwards to this could go out 40 years.
I think I saw 2060, 2063, possibly.
It's a long time, and it's $6 million worth of interest payments. And instead, we're going to refinance it, get it paid off, and get it off the docket within 5 years, or at least that's what we're presenting tonight. So point is that it's been fun. Seeing us shift gears and really think fiscally smart. And I can credit our staff, and I think council, for the most part, has been very supportive, and that's been appreciated from my end.
You mentioned that something like that necessarily isn't going to capture the headlines and
No.
be, that's not something that's going to people are going to be talking about around the water cooler about this type of thing. But stuff like that, though, you mentioned, is so important for city improving its financial health and getting, you mentioned, there was a $1 million deficit that was here when you came in. But these little small changes and moves, like you had just described, I'm sure they play dividends in terms of helping the city improve its financial footing. Exactly.
And can I throw in one other thing? So, and this is mostly just to clear some air, because my name was thrown out there recently, and it wasn't necessarily the most accurate statement, but. So every year as staff, we bring new requests forward to council for them to review. And oftentimes we'll also allow council to give input and put forward new requests too as well. One of those was a human resource manager. And just that wasn't a request specifically by me. Like Nathan Thiel needed to be lazy and wanted additional help. That request was a request both by department heads and also by council members. And it's good because our council discusses these things, we review them, and at this time they've selected and opted not to proceed forward with that. I would throw out, just as a community of 100 plus employees, it's not out of the ordinary to have a human resource manager at that level of employment. But like I said, I have been grateful for the council going through the process of budget workshops, really digging in and understanding the numbers, understanding what is important and how to make sure that we're fiscally responsible.
We're talking with Beaver Dam City Administrator Nathan Thiel here on Community Comment today. Again, if you have a question for the City Administrator, you can call in at 887-9595, or you can text 885-4446 to get on the program today. Excuse me, I got the numbers backwards. You can call 885-4446, or you can text 887-9595 if you have a question for the program. I just realized I've been reading that backwards this whole time. So I just want to make sure I note that change here, that difference here for the numbers if you want to get into the program today. Nathan, I know another thing that we've talked quite extensively here on Community Comment over the last couple of months, that's been the Community Action Plan. That kicked off, I believe, last January was sort of the really beginning of that. People from the community came together, held meetings for several months, presented a hometown plan to the council, and that was forwarded on to them, and they had a chance to review that. Where are we at right now with that?
Yeah, so it's been really exciting. So the group, there are several good, strong, diehard members that are continuing to meet with me probably every 3 weeks or so. And we set some priorities. We've kind of evaluated and looked at the long list of projects and ideas that were of interest, and two kind of rose to the top that were felt to be short-term games, and even in running into the long term. So first was a bike and pedestrian plan for the entire city, in particular because the county's still talking about the Gold Star Trail and getting that connected to Beaver Dam. Also, just in general, expanding the trail systems that we have in play, as well as the bike routes. So we've reviewed kind of the different inputs that we've received, and hoping to move that forward and get some financial planning to do some cost analysis and so forth. So that's been exciting. In fact, one of the gentlemen, Steve Eim, who also assisted in the pickleball effort, he's been participating, and we're in the process of working with the high school to create some bike repair stations and install those around the community. So little things like that's been fun. The other project that I'll just throw out is, it's been talked about in the past, but really hasn't necessarily gone anywhere, and that is kind of identifying the city by neighborhoods, trying to create basically classifications of neighborhoods. And I think we all know kind of the different neighborhoods of the community, but there aren't any really markings or a map. And sometimes individuals that are new to the community aren't necessarily able to keep the same orientation. And so that was the intent of this other project. And so that's kind of been a low-hanging fruit that they're hoping to accomplish.
Now, with the hometown action plan, or the community action plan, and then the hometown plan, are members still? It sounds like members are still meeting together and formulating and coming up with ideas.
Yeah, they're not formulating any new ideas, but what they're doing is they're working on the ideas that were created. Sure. And really trying to get, they're basically an extension of I only have so much time in the day, so they've been assisting in really trying to push advocating for some of these projects. And so hopefully that will continue. Part of it is we're going to be incorporating this into our comprehensive plan that we're working with our plan commission right now. We've been engaged in that effort, and so but it's been fun. These group of 7 or so diehards. It's a good group. It's a good network. And so, and if individuals out there are interested in participating or looking at the hometown recommendations, it is online, but also feel free to reach out to my office. Again, we've always said it's never too late to get on the bus. And so if there are things that are even on that list that pique your interest, please feel free to contact me, and we can participate in that way.
Is maybe roadblock or hurdle isn't the right word for this, but right now is the biggest thing that this group is meeting to discuss is, like you mentioned, finding ways to get funding to be able to get these projects across the finish line and see them come here to the city?
Yeah. So what I would say is that clearly they kind of, the group, we categorized these projects, right? So we've got long-term projects, things that are going to take 5-10 years, right, to actually get done, and may require a bit of money, right, and probably require a little bit of planning, and front end work. Then we've got projects that are, more that 3 to 5 year range, right, a mid range. And then you've got projects that if just a little bit of elbow grease, roll up your sleeves and get to work, could be done in the short term. And so we're really working on kind of some of these short term projects with long term in mind, because for instance, we're working on this bike route plan, right? And that's kind of, that's roll up your sleeves type work, right? We're drawing lines on a piece of paper. But a part of that, like long range, there's this desire to get some type of pedestrian access across the interstate to the YMCA. Well, at some point, those two are going to dovetail, right? The idea of having a plan and actually getting pedestrian access to the YMCA are kind of married, are related. And so we're working on kind of these more roll up your sleeves in an effort that as we continue to get momentum, we'll get to those end goals. So to answer your original question, we're not necessarily going out and fundraising, sure, although we will be coming to council tonight to talk about, in our administrative committee this evening, we'll be talking a little bit about how to, get a cost analysis put together, and also how to pay for, if we're going to purchase these bike repair stations, that's cost something. So, but those are relatively minor things that hopefully the council will be on board with.
So I'm sure we'll get more updates as these
Yes.
things continue to develop and grow and change over time. So excited to hear where things continue to grow with this community action plan again, which is available on the city website if people wanted to check that full document out online.
Yep. In fact, I probably should check, because I know the website was on the website. I should actually check what's there now, and maybe there might even be some updates.
Because the city website got rebranded essentially not too long ago, or got refreshed.
And it's on the homepage. It's under one of our highlights. So I need to note to self, I need to check.
Perfect. Sounds good. Again, we're joined with Beaver Dam City Administrator Nathan Thiel here on Community Comment. The phone numbers to get in are 885-4446, or you can text 887-9595 to get on the program. We do have a caller on line 1. Want to head to the phones and say welcome to Community Comment.
Thank you. I just wanted to try to clear something up as far as this HR manager job. Is that or is that not in your job description to head up that department?
Yeah. That is a great question. So my role as city administrator is to supervise a lot of things, right? And so, for instance, I have a financial manager, right? But I'm still over finances. I also am closely connected. Basically, I'm kind of running the day-to-day operations of the city. At some point in time, there's only so much that my role can do without being pulled in too many different directions. And so, with 100 employees plus, it was something that department heads were asking about, and even some council members were asking about, basically to make sure that there's an individual who's tasked and specifically targeting making sure that all our policies are up to date, addressing kind of hiring and making sure that we're coordinating even performance and things of that nature amongst the department heads. So point is that my role is still kind of overseeing and managing operations, but as organizations grow, and not that Beaver Dam is necessarily growing, but as organizations are at the size that Beaver Dam's at, it wouldn't be unheard of to have an HR manager. Now, right now, it's probably not something that we're going to move forward with, and so we'll continue to operate the way we have been. And I'm not complaining, but I will say that from a city administration standpoint, there's definitely more organization that could be had and more support that could be had than maybe just one person like myself could handle.
Oh, okay, so it's more or less worded that you just oversee these departments, and if the need is felt that we should put on an additional department head, then that's something that's got to be looked at. Am I reading that right?
Yeah, and what I would also say is that there's a little bit of a difference between the department head and kind of this position, right? So department head usually manages more than just one individual. In this case, it would be a support staff that would provide HR support to the city as a whole. And again, I don't think we need to get necessarily caught up, or at this point in time, we're probably not going to be moving forward with an HR manager. But to give you context, like community our size, Beaver Dam size, about 16,000. Sometimes community our size would have somebody, an IT support staff, would have an HR support staff, would have a communications individual. Now, these are all things that we can kind of fill in the gap with what we've got. There aren't any, I would say, we're going to make it work, right? But if we could elevate the level of service that we do provide, and there's interest in elevating that level of service, I'm also not gonna say no to that. I think that there's value both to the community and also indirectly to the community by supporting the department heads so that they're not spending time, they're able to concentrate their efforts and focus their efforts rather than spending time, advertising a position, right?
Okay. Well, thank you.
Yeah, not a problem. Good question.
Thank you again for the phone call here into community comment. That pretty much has taken us right up until the top of the hour, which means our first segment here is just about wrapping up. I know there was a couple other things we wanted to get to, but maybe we can hit those in our November community comments here with the city administrator.
I'm sure we'll survive.
I think we'll be okay.
But Kevin, always a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. I want to thank again our guests here on community comments again today here, Beaver Dam City Administrator Nathan Thiel. Also want to note that in our second segment, we'll be joined with the Democratic candidate for Wisconsin Assembly District 38, Andrew Hysell. Don't go anywhere. More community comment is coming up next.
host and news director, Kevin Haugen.
Well, thank you very much, and welcome back into today's Community Comment. I'm your host, Kevin Haugen. In our second segment today here on the program, it is my pleasure to welcome into the Daily Dodge TV studio the Democratic candidate for Wisconsin Assembly District 48, Andrew Hysell. Andrew, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me today.
Thanks, Kevin. It's really great to be here.
Yeah, we talked with the Republican candidate for Wisconsin Assembly District 48 a couple of weeks ago, Lisa Rubrick, here on Community Comment. We'll be posting audio and our interview with her following today's Community Comment program with Andrew Hysell today. So if you missed that one a couple of weeks ago, you'll be able to listen back to that here following today's program, along with our conversation here with Andrew Hysell here on Community Comment today. But I want to turn the mic over to our guest here on the program today. And really give Andrew an opportunity to share a little bit about your background, your work experience, hobbies, service organizations, affiliations, political experience. Just essentially, who is Andrew Hysell?
Thanks very much, Kevin. Just in a nutshell, I live in Sun Prairie, down across from the Woodmans. It's a really good landmark.
I know the Woodmans.
A lot of people do. It's an excellent landmark, so people know where I live. The district now, the 48th Assembly District, runs all the way from Door Creek in Madison all the way up to Columbus. So geographically, it's diverse. There's rural areas, there's suburban areas, and there's even parts of the city of Madison. I live, like I said, in Sun Prairie. I'm a member, participant in the Optimists in Sun Prairie. Also work with, I'm a volunteer and a member of the Rotary, member of the Sun Prairie Chamber of Commerce. I'm an attorney downtown, work for a firm called Lawton Cates. My background is I graduated high school in Milwaukee, went to Carroll College when it was a college. Now it's a university in Waukesha.
Yep.
Went out east to go to law school. Attended law school at night at Georgetown. Ended up working on Capitol Hill for a congressman from Maine. Ended up then working for some children's groups, and I worked in public policy. First on public health, working for the Campaign for Tobacco-Free Kids to reduce tobacco use amongst children, and it's been very successful. I'd like to say the policies that we supported. And I also then worked for Save the Children, and in the United States, Save the Children, well, internationally, Save the Children works around the world. In the United States, focuses primarily on children's literacy and investing in early childhood programs to help kids who come from low economic socioeconomic backgrounds, to help them catch up so they can be proficient readers and graduate high school on time.
Fantastic. So you do, in your background, had a little bit of experience in the political sphere. It sounds like, is this your really first race into a seat on a state assembly or any sort of political race for that sense? This is the first time you're taking on this mantle?
Yes. I did, I worked in the state assembly right out of college. I actually worked for a state representative. So I did his constituent service. I did, helped him with bills and public policy in Wisconsin. So I have a good background of what the office requires. And I think that'll give me a leg up if I win in November.
Fantastic. Now, we'll dive in here in a moment, just what the main platforms and issues that you're running on and the things that matter most to you, Andrew. But maybe just as a summary, why are you running? Why are you throwing your hat into the ring, so to speak?
Yeah, Kevin, I feel compelled to be engaged in public service. I have my entire life. I worked to help pass clean indoor air laws, to stop marketing to kids of cigarettes. Remember, there used to be Joe Camel on billboards. No longer. They're actually prohibited through a voluntary settlement that my organization worked on. In terms of education, I'm a strong supporter of education. We need to continue to support our schools here in Wisconsin, and that is something that I feel really compelled to do. I want to be part of a solution of really solving these problems that we hear about day in and day out, because I think Wisconsin is the greatest state in the country, and we've got a history that really shows that.
Again, our guest here on Community Comment today is Andrew Hysell, the Democratic candidate for Wisconsin Assembly District 48. And now we are looking at some of the issues and platforms, Andrew, that you're running on here. And you had just mentioned education is such an important one for you, and something that you are a huge supporter of is fully funding education to ensure all students are able to have access to education. What are some of the key issues or some of the key things that you're looking to achieve if you're elected into the Wisconsin Assembly?
On education, I believe the state needs to step back up and embrace its responsibility to sustainably and adequately fund public education for all children. I think that's something that we used to do 30, 40 years ago, and the state's been pushing itself out of that role. And that's why you see all these referendum. It's why they're happening time and time again, because we don't have a sustainable, equitable system for funding our schools. So that's something I will prioritize. Healthcare affordability, really important. We need to take the federal Medicaid money. It's our money. I don't know if people know this issue, but it goes all the way back to, believe it or not, Barack Obama. There's funding available for us that we pay federally through our income tax to DC that we're not getting back because we won't accept these dollars for Medicaid expansion, make healthcare more affordable, provide more people with healthcare coverage. That's something that I am going to make a priority.
I know that the rising cost of just living nowadays, just being able to afford a tank of gas, buy groceries is for a lot of families a challenge nowadays. I know that economy and being able to combat that inflation is something that you are looking to deal with if you're elected into the state assembly.
Absolutely. If you consider how many things have been shifted onto people's backs over the years, it's remarkable that people are doing as well as they're doing. Working families, because if you look at people's healthcare costs going up, if you look at the fact that college tuition has gone up so dramatically, the cost of owning a home has gone up so dramatically, the middle class family is getting squeezed. What we need to do is focus our attention on those people. Those are the people that need supports. For example, affordable childcare. It is not a luxury. It is something that people need. I knock on doors and people tell me, one person told me, in my family, two working, the husband and the wife both work. They view, childcare to him, it's a wealth destructor. It's something that's like making them poor. And that should not be in the United States. That should not be in Wisconsin. We should reward work and we should support families with affordable childcare. So that is something that I will really focus on expanding. There are proposals that have been put forth. There were these funds through the COVID relief funds that are ending, and childcare centers are having a hard time now providing quality care. There's some proposals on the table on how to step in there, and that's something I'm going to look at.
I know, at least out in our listening area, and something that you've highlighted as well, manufacturing is such a big driver in our economy here in the state of Wisconsin. Is there ways to help support what the manufacturing businesses and what they do out here to help those continue to grow and employ more people and help people afford their day-to-day lives?
Yes, we need to invest in manufacturing capacity here in Wisconsin. I think there's a lot of opportunities around the Build Back Better, the infrastructure bill that Biden passed. We see these opportunities for private sector businesses to draw down funds to invest in Wisconsin and to grow jobs. I'm a really strong supporter, too, of supporting our labor unions, our trades unions, the carpenters, the carpenters is a good example. Another example would be IBW, the plumbers and pipe fitters. The steam fitters, they actually use their own money to create training centers that are state of the art. They bring in apprentices. They pay them while they learn how to become this highly skilled worker, which will attract, business to Wisconsin because we have these workers. They graduate making more money, and they have no debt. To me, investments with unions as partners at the table and having those organizations involved really will drive our economy forward. That's why I'm a really strong supporter of organized labor.
We're talking with Andrew Hysell here, the Democratic candidate for Wisconsin Assembly District 48 here on Community Comment today. Now, Andrew, in the opening here, when you gave us a little bit of a look into your past here, you had mentioned your work and fights to help the tobacco control and help kids not be inundated by advertisements and be exposed to those types of things. Is there still work to be done to be able to help? I know that vaping is now such a popular thing nowadays with the young crowd. Is there still work to be done to help mitigate this issue for the younger people in our community so that this isn't a problem anymore?
Absolutely. We need to ensure that kids are protected from the influence of what we call big tobacco or the tobacco industry. Absolutely, it's a single if not one of the most single biggest preventable causes of premature death, and it costs a great deal of money to our healthcare system.
Yeah, and we're talking again with Andrew Hysell here on Community Comment today. Another important platform. I know this kind of ties in a little bit to the economy and inflation, and you mentioned how really small businesses really make up a large component. You drive through any small town here in the state of Wisconsin, you're going to find a couple of small businesses in that community. Where does the state legislature need to step up and be able to support and help out small business owners and people who are looking to start those types of ventures here in the state?
It's a great question, and there is that's a really important distinction. Small businesses have very different needs than large corporations. I'm a member of the Sun Prairie Chamber of Commerce, and we get to hear from our local members who are primarily these sole proprietorships, what they deal with on a day-to-day basis. First of all, it's really exciting to work for yourself, and I think it's awesome to see so many Americans embracing the role of an entrepreneur. But we need to support them because it is very risky at times, and you're 1 month away from possibly not being able to pay your bills. They say the personal guarantee is the thing that keeps you up late at night. It really does. That's why we need to make sure our policies at the state level prioritize small business people that live in Wisconsin and people that are serving their communities, because they really count. They really matter, and they are driving our economy to a large extent.
Back onto, I know tobacco control is something that was very important for you in limiting, again, all the people that, the youth that are exposed to those types of things. On the flip side of that, you're looking at legalizing cannabis. I know that's something that we've had other candidates come in here in community comments have discussed as a way of helping drive and increase sales tax dollars, be able to afford a lot of the things that we want to do here in the state of Wisconsin. Is that a way that you look at legalizing cannabis, as being able to drive ways to improve our economy here and drive up sales taxes and help be able to afford for road projects and certain other things in the state that we need?
I think that's a nice side benefit or effect. But I would say what drew me to the issue initially in 2018, and what I learned is that prohibition, essentially with cannabis, the punishments or the treatment of it do not equate with the actual dangers it poses. Excuse me. Obviously, if there's ever an industry that starts to push it on kids, I'll be the first one to stand against that. I'm strongly supportive of protecting children and protecting the public health. But if we look at the harms that it causes versus how it's treated under the law, it's just really out of whack. And we're seeing that in other states, that they've embraced legalization, and veterans, senior citizens who have pain and other sorts of issues, that cancer patients who are suffering from nausea, it helps them. And I don't see why we can't make it an option. We need to regulate it. We need to ensure that kids are protected from it. Absolutely. But I think at the end of the day, one of the side benefits would be increased tax revenue, which obviously, instead of having people drive across the border and fund schools in Michigan, we could keep it here.
I know there's been a lot of discussion in the state assembly. I know when we've had Assemblyman Mark Bourne come on here, community comment in the past, he's talked about this, that there's been some support for legalizing cannabis when it comes to medicinal use. That tends to be a sort of a bridge for people who are not really that supportive of the idea versus those who want full legalization of cannabis. If it comes down to voting to legalize cannabis for medicinal use, but not for recreational use, would that be something that you would be behind and support, or would you want to fully legalize cannabis?
I support Governor Tony Evers' budget proposal now two times in a row, which would be full legalization. I believe that it really is a substance. I mean, we as a society, allow people to consume alcohol responsibly. I don't see why we would deprive an individual of the freedom to consume cannabis legally. At the end of the day, if the Republicans shut it down in the Senate, if we're able to, let's say we do take the House majority and the Democrats control the state assembly, and we're able to pass the bill for the first time because Robin Voss won't be there to stop it, then I think in the Senate, if it gets, we would be in a position where maybe we would negotiate a medical bill, because that might be something that they would accept.
Now, another important issue, Andrew, that you've highlighted is an important platform that you're running on is being able to serve the veterans here in the state of Wisconsin. Again, I ask, what more does the state assembly need to do to be able to support our veterans and help them out in their time of need?
There's a great program in Wisconsin that has strong bipartisan support. It actually was begun under the Walker administration, continued and increased under Governor Tony Evers, and it's called the Veteran Outreach and Recovery Program. The program is it's essentially a community way to support veterans' mental health. So instead of having a center, maybe in a big city, you have people who are case managers located in communities across the state. One of the biggest barriers to a veteran receiving mental health is not knowing about it and not feeling comfortable about receiving the support. Someone's embedded in the community, maybe at the local Quick Trip. The veteran comes in, they're having issues with substance abuse, or maybe they're homeless. That person on the ground is able to refer them and get them treatment and help. And it's actually this amazing program called VORP. It's being looked at by other states. It was given an award, actually, for being an innovative model. So that's something that here in Wisconsin we should be really proud of, and we should be expanding the VORP program to help more veterans and start helping other people, too, who have mental health and substance abuse issues.
Is it also, too, just providing more we always talk about having money will help solve the world's problems here, but always seems like providing more funding for veteran service offices here at the county levels. It always, I hear, at least in Dodge County, that there's always an important need to have an appropriate amount of staff to be able to help veterans, to be able to help with the filing paperwork that comes with the being a veteran. Is that something, too, that you see as an important role of the legislature, is making sure that the veteran offices throughout the entire state are properly funded and they have the staff that they need to be able to support veterans on a local level?
The simple answer is yes.
Yeah.
Investments of the kind you just described, supporting veterans where they live in different counties across the state, helps improve people's lives. When we look at investments we make at the state level, we need to target them at helping people, middle-class working families, veterans, others, to improve the quality of their lives. And then the benefits are amazing. The benefits are that we have people who are able to attend school, graduate, start a small business, work for 30 years and have a pension and retire. Not have to declare bankruptcy because of medical debt. Investments, if they're done the right way and targeted at the people that need them, improves the quality of life in Wisconsin. And that's something I'm going to take very, very seriously. It's going to guide my decision making if I'm elected.
If you are elected into the state assembly, what do you plan to do to help the environment here in the state of Wisconsin?
I think we need to take these issues seriously. Obviously, I firmly believe that climate change is an existential threat to us, and I think you can see it, believe it or not, in the yearly weather patterns now. We need to do what we can to transition to green, sustainable energy in this state. I'm really concerned about PFAS. I'm concerned about things that are affecting us on a day-to-day basis that we used to just hear about, and now we're actually seeing it. So I'm going to prioritize taking action on those issues as well.
Again, we are joined with Andrew Hysell, the Democratic candidate for Wisconsin Assembly District 48 here on Community Comment today. We're slowly running out of time here on our program this afternoon. With the few moments that we have left here with our guests on our program today, I want to give Andrew an opportunity to let our listeners and viewers know when voters head out to the polls on November 5th to cast their vote, why should they put down Andrew Hysell for Wisconsin Assembly District 48?
Well, thank you so much for having me on the show today. I really appreciate what you guys do. We need more local media resources, and you guys, I know, have won a lot of awards, and that's really impressive. Just to wrap it up, I would say, vote for me, vote for Andrew Hysell. I will work for you. I will not work for special interests. I care about investing in making our lives better, and I will do everything I can and work tirelessly to do that on your behalf.
Again, I want to thank our guest here on Community Comment today one last time, Andrew Hysell. Thank you again so much for coming into Community Comment.
Thanks, Kevin.
Again, just quick programming note that our interview with Lisa Rubrick, along with Andrew Hysell, will be posted online, so you can listen to it after the fact if you didn't catch it here on our program this afternoon today. But with that, I want to say this will do it for today's Community Comment.